Good morning, everyone. This is Gresham Harkless with CEO Blog Nation and Blue 16 Media. And today we have a special guest with us. We have Lance Waterman, Coach LA, the accountability coach. Can you say hi for everybody, Coach LA?
Hey, how are you doing, everybody?
Thanks, Coach. What we're going to do today is at Teach a CEO, which is a member of CEO Blog Nation. We always like to teach entrepreneurs and business owners how to do certain things in business. Today, because we have the accountability coach, Coach LA, with us, today we're actually going to focus on accountability and how being accountable can actually help out your business. I had the pleasure to actually work with Lance. And what I wanted to do was just kind of introduce him to give you a better idea of what he does and how he can kind of benefit your business. Now, Coach LA, make it count and make a decision. Move now are the mantras of Coach LA, has embodied as a certified life coach, professional coach, health and wellness coach, business coach, and executive coach with World Coach Institute and Dream Release Coaching. Coach LA is committed to helping individuals transform their mind, body, and spirit through accountability by creating and accomplishing powerful goals and developing life plans. He believes that you don't have accountability, but there's no limit to the things that you will say or do. His message to you is very simple. Face reality, become a leader, demonstrate accountability, and take responsibility for your own actions. His programs are easy. Show people the consequences of not being accountable, and then you show them strategies and solutions to keep them accountable. Afterwards, they will be moved to act. With his coaching programs, he'll have you focus most of your time on accountability and less on the problems that got you there. Through his flagship coaching programs, developing an accountability mindset to succeed and stop procrastinating and start winning, Coach LA inspires and empowers individuals to take their life to the next level and tap into the greatness that is within them. As a coach, leader, and visionary, Lance works with leaders and managers that are being pressured to squeeze more results out of their teams and shows them how to use personal accountability coaching techniques so that they double their productivity and profitability. He launched Speak Ministry in June of 2012 to empower individuals to take responsibility for the health and wellness and spiritual man. Coach LA is very passionate and committed about the well-being of mankind. His passion and enthusiasm for transforming lives through accountability enables him to effortlessly connect with people on a personal and heartfelt level. He loves working with people who want to make big changes or achieve some big results, such as losing weight, getting into a relationship, or starting a business that are struggling to make it happen fast enough. He helps them create action plans and stay super focused. One participant said, Coach LA gets others to embrace new possibilities, new opportunities, and challenges others see, problems, or limitations. He has an internal engine that revs people up and keeps them energized all day. After attending a Coach LA event, you are sure to be motivated and inspired to make it count. As a seasonal professional, entrepreneur, and minister, Lance has contributed to society and his community in various ways. For the past 30 years, he has worked in the field of accounting while pursuing and launching various entrepreneurial endeavors. His passion and commitment to see men and youth excel in all areas of their life compelled him to launch Youth Our Next Generation in 2003. Since then, he has been involved with numerous youth initiatives and activities. Additionally, he has worked with various men organizations, and outreach ministries for 25 and 14 years respectively. As a member of Grace Church, he uses his talents and gifts and abilities to serve in various capacities. He and his beautiful wife Lori live in Woodbridge, Virginia with their devoted canines of 8 years, Dallas and Domino. As an accountability and health and wellness coach, Coach LA is available for one-on-one coaching, group coaching, seminars, speaking, and ministerial engagements. His area of expertise is accountability coach for the youth, men, and women. Coach LA provides a free 30-minute consultation to help individuals make a decision and move now. So with further ado, I introduce Coach LA. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Hey, thank you, Gresham. Thank you for having me here as your guest this morning. I am excited to impart information on how to keep the individual and structural business accountable for their actions. Profitability up, production up, excuses down.
All right, well, thank you. We're definitely excited to have you. I know personally that accountability is something that is huge for entrepreneurs and business owners. And what we want to kind of do is, of course, hear from you and definitely see what advice you can give for us to be more accountable in our lives. Oftentimes, we always have those lofty goals that we want to try to reach. So sometimes it takes having a coach or having somebody there just to make sure that we do the things that are necessary to reach those goals, because sometimes we don't have that, that we have that big picture mindset, but we don't realize the little small things we have to do to get there. So
Absolutely.
thank you for speaking with us.
Thank
So
you.
just to kind of get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about you,
Sure.
your business, and kind of what led you to be the accountability coach?
Sure. A couple of years ago, I started creating a niche for myself in the accountability area, because I noticed even on my job how people were shirking their responsibilities. So I said, if people are shirking their responsibilities in accountability, that has a lot to do with businesses, because that means the production in the business is going to decrease while the productivity decreases, and the excuses are going up as to why we're not producing fast enough. So I saw this market and I said, hey, if this company is experiencing that problem, imagine if you do 10 times or 100 times that. So I noticed that businesses are lacking in productivity. Businesses are now sending work overseas. Is because the individual, the systems and strategies that we have in place aren't working effectively. And so therefore, if they were, if they got the right people in place to be more accountable, the systems and strategies would work. And so therefore, we wouldn't have to send work overseas. We would have that work right here in America, and be thriving as a powerhouse country once again. And so I got into accountability because I noticed that individuals are faltering in the accountability area. If you talk about accountability, people start fearing. People fear accountability because it sort of puts the spotlight on them. They have to answer for their own actions. So when you're talking about people and then business as a whole, we're talking about the individual first, because if you get 10 people and you hire them into your company and they all lack accountability, guess what happens? The business is not going to be successful because the people aren't successful. So one goes hand in with the other. And so that's why I got into as an accountability coach, because I noticed that that's the number one dynamics that's missing in an individual and as a professional and then in the corporate life. And so that's how I got into accountability, and I've been loving it since. People haven't been loving me as much, but I've been loving the business since.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, you're telling people, you're holding people accountable,
That's right.
which what they say they're going to do, they have to actually do. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, when you're talking about the global aspect of it, where you're helping essentially bring back jobs, because you're saying that people are going overseas or they're outsourcing things mainly because they can't find what they're looking for here. So you're helping businesses grow, create more jobs, be more profitable, which allows them to hire and bring on more people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely needed.
Absolutely. So what's your definition of accountability? How would you define that as a coach?
The main definition is getting someone to take responsibility for their own actions.
Hmm.
So it's answerability, it's liability, and it's responsibility. Those three words are co-joined with each other, and those are the operable words: answerability, liability, and responsibility. You have to answer for your own action, you have to be liable for your own action, and you have to take responsibility for your own action. So I would say the main definition of accountability is being accountable for your own action, for your personal action.
Hmm. Okay. And like, have you noticed that businesses or even entrepreneurs, solopreneurs haven't been able to be or haven't been accountable, and how has that affected their business?
Systems and strategies are so important for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and in businesses. They just say, for instance, like say if the Wizard of Oz, you have this big Oz who's going to wave a wand and make things better. No, that's not the case. That's fictional. That's mythical. In reality, you have to look at the systems and strategies that you have in place and see if they're working properly. And to see if they're working properly, you have to look at the individual who's working the system. You don't, you know, if you, for an example, if you have somebody that's coming to work late for the past 5 years and for 10 minutes, that 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 corresponds to $5,000 and $6,000 a for 5 years. If you have 10 of those people, that's over 60, 70,000. So a person may say, oh, that's nothing, but in the business they'll be lacking productivity as a result of you coming late. So you have to take that responsibility on yourself. So as a business, you want to make sure you know who you hired that's going to be more accountable, that's going to take some responsibility for their actions, so that you can leave that business up to that individual or individuals, depending how many people you hire in your business. Or if you're a solopreneur, how are you following up? How are you taking responsibility for your action? What systems and strategies do you have in place to produce? And of course, the bottom line is money. How much money that you're looking to make? What's your goals? What's your strategies? So you have to look at that as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, and as a business. You have to look at accountability as your number one dynamic to see, to measure how you're making this money.
Right. And that definitely makes sense. I mean, sometimes you don't think when someone comes in 5 minutes late, but just how you spoke about it, where 5 minutes late for a year adds up and it starts to affect the business and affect the bottom line, which is what business owners and entrepreneurs do not want. Um, so that's great perspective. So if you have that person that comes in 5 minutes late every day, what advice would you give to them? What would you say to them? And also, what would you say to the manager or the boss or the entrepreneur or business owner that manages them?
Absolutely. First, for the individual that's coming in late, he may not feel that 5 minutes or 10 minutes is a big deal, but accumulating that 5 or 10 minutes over a period of 5 years is going to translate to money. So you have to show them that they have to take more responsibility for their actions because they're part of a team. That's why there's such thing as peer accountability. If you pair them up with another individual to keep them accountable, then perhaps it'll show them where they can become more accountable to not only themselves, but to a team and to the person who has hired them. You have to create the right programs to keep people engaged, to make it fun, so people want to stay. People who come in late have no incentives to make it fun, and so therefore they'll drag in. Oh, I have to come to this job once again. So obviously happy where they are. So that may translate to two things: either the job is bored, is if the job is artist and it's not doing what it's supposed to, or the individual. And you have those people. You have those people who are not team members. So you want to speak to the individual first, and then you want to look at the system strategies of the business to see how we can make this thing fun. You want people to come in and enjoy what they do. So it's a two-part thing: first the individual and then the business.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Just because when you're saying that, I'm thinking I actually joined a fraternity, and I'm my only child, so having that perspective is kind of what you were speaking about when we were going through our process. One of the things that I took away is that you're bigger than the person that you are. The actions that you take actually affect other people, and that kind of speaks to what you're, and having that mentality kind of speaks to what you were talking about, where you're having that what I'm doing is also affecting maybe the person in the cubicle next to me or the person across the hallway from me, because again, we're all one team, we're all one business. So one thing that I do affects other people. So if
Absolutely.
I'm doing, if I'm coming 5 minutes late, it may not seem like that much, but at the end of the day, it's affecting that person across the street or across the hallway and then the person that's sitting next to me.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Now, on the flip side, what would you tell the business owner or the entrepreneur that's managing them?
Well, let's look at your strategy. What incentives are you creating? What type of environment are you creating to invite these people to come to work every day? Is it one that people are detracting from, or are they running to? And so you look for, as a business, I would hope in my business people would want to come work for me. Why? Because one, it's fun, it's inviting, it's an atmosphere that you don't have to feel intimidated. People go to work, and they go to work because it's their 9 to 5, and they're not speaking to anybody. They're just coming to work. That type of environment I don't want to be around, because that type of environment is a morgue like environment. There's nothing fun about it, so it just becomes a job. Well, as an employee, I don't want to make it just a job. I want to make it fun. I want to make it an environment. I want to create an atmosphere that's going to be productive and not non-productive, because if you do that, psychologically a person could say, I love going to work. I love my coworkers. I love being a part of that team, because I love that where we are going as a team, and going forward with this, because the environment is created in such that it's inviting and not detracting. So from the boss perspective, or from the higher perspective, make it fun. Draw a picture that you don't want to go anywhere else, Gresham. You want to come here and work for me, because this is what our team does. If you notice, in McDonald's and these other places, they take group shots. They have Ronald McDonald there. They make it fun. They make it fun to the psychological perspective, but they make it fun to the other perspectives as well. So you say, I want to go work for McDonald's because it's fun. I want to go work for this company because it's fun. You don't want to say, nah, I don't want to go work because they all working like robots, and everything's just systematic. You don't want to make things just too systematic, but you want to make sure that work is getting done, but it's getting done in an environment that is inviting.
Right. That makes perfect sense. I mean, when I think of businesses like Google, who's definitely one of the trailblazers, I remember, and how in their work environment, just how they made it fun, how they made it relaxing, how they had even like the 20% rule, I think, where they had 20% of the time that workers can actually work on their own projects,
Hmm.
and different things emerged from that because it was so inviting, because it was so fun. Gmail came out of that just because one person was working on something, and it results into a huge part of their company. So I guess I know part, and you touched on this a little bit, part of being a good leader, being a good entrepreneur and business owner is making sure to make their environment fun. But what also would you advise as far as bringing on the right people? How do you make that decision even before they come in the doors?
Well, you have to interview people. The interview process is so important and so imperative that you have to. Unfortunately, you do have to start checking people who you're bringing on. Is this person reliable? Is he accountable? Does he take responsibility for his actions? What projects has he been on? It is so important today. You don't just want to bring in any Joe Blow, but you want to bring on some good workers. And the process of interviewing is nowadays, it's computerized. Oh, it spits out this resume. The person has great, but what about the person himself? Are you checking up on his references? You have to check references nowadays, so that you know the quality and the quantity of the person that you're getting for your business. But you want to make it fun again. You do. You want to make it inviting. So you just play scenarios. One of the things we do, and you're part of BNI, and I'm a prospective BNI person. We do games, and we have role playing, and so I like that. I like that because it helps. It helps the mind. It helps the individual to set the person at ease. You know, tell me a little about yourself. Forget the resume. Just tell me about yourself. Tell me some of your accomplishments. And now you set the environment. You put him at ease. You are at ease. The environment is at ease. So now you're setting an environment that's inviting. Again, there's that operative word. You're setting the right type of environment that's inviting. So now I'm not intimidated to talk to you about my accomplishments.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And now, so once you find that right person, and is it is a person that actually doesn't that isn't accountable, that isn't doing what you kind of want them to do, are they lost, or is that some? Are there little things that you can do as a leader, as a business leader, to kind of help them be accountable, help them to get on the right track?
Okay, and okay, hire somebody who is not as accountable as you would like. What is it going to actually do for your business? It's going to create a stagnant in productivity because the person that you like you like his personality, you like his workflow, but he's not accountable. And so therefore, if you get him into your environment, he can become a cancer, so she can become cancerous. That can spread to your, and so you don't, unfortunately, you don't want that type of individual in your workplace because over a period of time, he's going to have some influence over your other employees. Oh man, why are you doing that? Well, you know what? It doesn't matter if it's the project is 10, 15 minutes late, as long as you get it to them. That's not accountability. So that person will be lost. That individual is going to be lost. Now, how do you help that individual? Well, on a one-on-one, for me to coach that person, I have to look at what are the problem areas in your life that's causing you not to be accountable. Why are you not taking responsibility for your action? Well, it's probably deeper than the workforce. It probably stems back to his childhood. It probably stems back to him not being responsible for his personal stuff. And so you have to deal with the origin of the accountability part than trying to deal with him as an employer in a business, because that's going to translate into either profits or non-profit. Most likely it's going to translate into non-profit, non-productivity, because he is bringing into the job more baggage than you would like. Because he's not responsible, he's not accountable to his own actions in his personal life, and he's bringing that into the corporate life. So you have to nip that and channel that and see why from the individual perspective he is not as accountable or responsible for his own actions. Did I answer
Wow.
your question?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You answered a lot of questions. So I guess, and it again, you kind of look at coaching and you think that okay, a person comes here, spends 40 hours a week here, and they just don't want to do right. They don't want to do the correct thing. They don't want to follow the procedures that are set up in the business. But you kind of talk about some underlying parts of what could cause an individual to do that. How do you, as a coach, get to that level where you're able to see that first and foremost? And kind of a secondhand question: why would an entrepreneur and business owner even want to invest in helping out someone that needs that type of help? Because I know entrepreneurs and business owners are working a lot. There's not a lot of time. So why would they want to just not try to fire someone and get somebody else? And why should they take the time to actually develop that individual?
Well, let me answer your first question. How do you see it as a coach? The assessments that you want to install in your coaching or in business. You have to see the problem. So it's called the ism. See it ism. You have to own it ism. You have to solve it ism. So you have to see the problem, own the problem, and then solve the problem. And so once you do that from the individual perspective, so you do assessments. I have assessments. I can see where the individual lack accountability. Then after you show the individual where he's lacking, he has to own it. He has to own that problem and start solving the problem. And those are assessments I give. because I'll be able to ascertain where a person is in his personal life, and through some other assessments. And then after that, from the corporate perspective, how do you help people? Well, you bring in a coach. You bring in somebody like myself, an accountability coach. You know, and I know that businesses don't have accountability coaching on site. They don't even bring in people who account. Even if they're lacking in productivity, they don't even question why they're lacking it. They just may give a person 90 days and say, okay, if you're not producing in 90 days, we got to get rid of you and get somebody else in. But that's a perpetual cycle. You have to see why they're not producing in the first place. Is the system that you set up in place formidable for that person to produce? And if you're looking at John and John is producing, and you're looking at Jane and Jane is not producing, and you're saying, I'm going to give you 90 days, instead of looking at why the person is not producing, why the person is not as accountable. So it may lie in the system. See, John might be stronger in some areas than Jane. Jane might be stronger in some areas than John. But the system and strategy in place may not be conducive for both of them to work on that same project. And it doesn't mean that one is greater than the other. It just means that we have to look at the system and how the system plays to the strengths and weaknesses in terms of accountability. And so as the entrepreneur, as the solo entrepreneur, as the corporate, to say from the HR perspective, I have to have the right systems and strategies in place in terms of accountability, so I can match this up to see exactly where people are falling or people are failing, or even where people are producing and excelling in accountability, where profits are up. If you see in Disney and all these other great places, productivity is up because they want to be there. They love the systems. They love the strategy. Google, the atmosphere is such that people are still working, getting the job done. But guess what? It's a passion of theirs. People want to be there. If you just hiring people just for the sake of hiring, and because people need a job, they're going to say, yeah, I'm going to take the job. It's not going to work. Unfortunately, it's not going to work, because to them it's just a job. And guess what? If it's just a job, then there's really no reason for me to do anything extra, because I'm putting my 8 hours in. So you have to you have to revisit and say, man, we need some accountability in this place. We need to bring somebody in that's going to do some assessments to see exactly where we are, to see if we're owning up to our responsibility, if we're seeing the problem, and if we're solving the problem. If we don't do that, then we have problems. We will continue to have those problems. That's why you see where if I ask people, hey, you have accountability partners, they go, nah, never even thought. Why not? If you did, if every company had peer accountability in that company, I would estimate and guess that their productivity would increase 10 to 20 fold, because you have peer accountability. You're partnering these people up. You may partner up a weak person with a strong person, and you'll get things done quicker and effective as opposed to letting people just roll on their own. So I think I answered both of those questions. There were two. That was a two-part.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, what would you say? I mean, you kind of touched on that. To those people that say, "Oh, I don't need a coach. I don't need anyone telling me what to do. I've gotten this far by myself. I can get much farther by myself. I don't need anybody to hold me accountable. I don't need peers or partners." What would you say to that person?
Well, you can't push accountability on people. People have to see the need for accountability. If a person says they don't need accountability, well, again, the assessments that you could give the person, if the person refuses the assessment, he refuses the assessment, because not everybody is going to gravitate to accountability. Everybody don't want you in their personal business, and that's what accountability is. Accountability is shedding the spotlight on you personally. There's nobody else in the room. It's just me and you. So let's talk about you, Gresham. Let's talk about some of the things that you're doing. What about your childhood? As a coach, I don't give people answers. They have the answers already. I'm just a tour guide along that way. If I see that you're belligerent and that you're just offensive when it comes to accountability, I may ask certain questions as to why. You may let your guards down, but you may not. Everybody is not coachable. Everybody's not coachable. So you have to be able to pass that person along. Unfortunately, you have people in your organization that is not coachable. That person who going to do it my way. And in the long run, their way is going to hurt the business, and therefore you're going to see where the profit margin, or because it all translates to profit and money in the long run, any business, any corporation. Man, if they're not making money, you better look at the reason why. You better look at the people you have and the strategies and systems in place. And so if a person feels like they don't need accountability, you can only talk to them. And that's what I only do. I only talk to people. And 9 out of the 10 people I talk to, they never had an accountability partner. But I said, if you had one, wouldn't you think that productivity, sales, that you'll be further along in reaching your goals? They say absolutely. I said, why won't you think about getting an accountability partner or hire an accountability coach? And they said, well, I've never thought about it. I said, well, think about it. That's all you could do. Think about it. And I have paired men up and women up with other women in different cities and countries as accountability partners, and it has proven to be effective. So if your audience is out there, if somebody's listening on YouTube, if they need accountability or they want accountability partners, accountability coach, I'm your man.
All right. Well, definitely, it sounds like it. I mean, at the end of the day, we all want to get to our goals. We all have visions for where we want to be. So the question is, if the things that you're doing are getting you to where you want to be, or even if you want to take it to the next level, why wouldn't you want to bring on a coach and take those next steps? It's like we're all trying to reach those visions. So can you tell us, I guess, a little bit more about your the accountability groups that you have?
Yes, I started an accountability group on Facebook, and with that group, we read books, and we talk to each other. I do assign accountability partners, and then at the end of the day, we bring the partners together and we do 3 ways. I coach the accountability partners just to see where they are, because an accountability partner with each other, y'all should know what the individual is doing for the next 90 days. And so we set parameters, we set deadlines, so that it gives the person a measuring stick, because you need to measure up against something. So our accountability groups, make a decision, move now group, change your habits, change your life accountability group, the accountability boot camp program. These are all Coach LA groups that's called getting people to be accountable through habits, either bad habits, good habits, making the decision, moving now, making it count. These are all accountability programs that's either getting a person to think and react, or just getting a person or people involved in group settings, so that they say, you know what, I'm not alone. There are other people just like myself who are lacking in accountability, who are stuck, and because they're stuck, they want to know how to move to the next level. And that's all it is. It's inviting. Anybody can get involved with these groups. Just Facebook me and you're in. That's it. No magic. There's no criteria. You can just get in these groups and be a part of something that's moving in the next direction.
That sounds good. I mean, I think that's what everybody is looking for, is just how they could take that next step. And we'll definitely put those links to your group and the program that you have going on inside the video link. As far as, of course, like again, we're Teach a CEO, so we are basically school for entrepreneurs and business owners. So what takeaways or what homework, for lack of a better term, would you give to entrepreneurs and business owners on how to be more accountable?
I would like to say, do some assessments, not only on yourself, but on the people who you come into contact with, people who you're looking to get your business from. You have to install the see it, the own it, and the solve it. If you don't see the problem, you're gonna have problems. If you don't own the problems, you're gonna have more problems. Especially if you don't solve the problem, you're gonna have more problems than you started out with. Because the problem is gonna be a cancer and it's gonna grow and grow, and before you know it, you're gonna be out of business. As the solopreneur, unfortunately, we allow things to get away from us before we know it. It's too far away. If we see it, get it right there and deal with it. Take some responsibility for that action right there, right then. It might cost you something in the beginning, but in the long run, you'll profit from it. The entrepreneur, whether you're in the business of hiring, you have to be able to recognize where the lack of accountability is in your business. Because if you don't, then that means you too are walking around with cataracts on your eye. You're not really seeing you see the problem, but you're not really dealing with the problem. From the corporate perspective, you have to look at a few things here. Look at the people who you've hired to carry out the responsibilities. Then look at your systems and strategies, because it might be tweaking. It might need tweaking in both areas. But but you know what? There's hope for the entrepreneur. There's hope for the solopreneur, and there's hope for the corporation. Because if you get somebody who is fluent in accountability, you could bring them in, locate the issues, and you know what? Put out the fire, put out the spark before it becomes the fire. And so I would say to them is keep your eyes open, take some responsibility for your own action, be liable, but be answerable. You're never too big, never too small to attack this problem from the ground floor. That's what my advice to them would be.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And Coach LA, thank you once again. It's been a pleasure. Definitely learned a lot of information to help out my business, and I'm sure to definitely help out the business owners that actually hear this and listen to this. We'll definitely have your information, how people can contact you and get a hold of you, just if you want to speak with Coach LA and be more accountable, as well as a Facebook group, because I know that's something that's important to do, and we're very social, so we'll definitely have those links available. Are there any more parting words that you have for us?
Be responsible, be accountable, be liable, and be answerable. That's all a part of being responsible, accountable, reliable. Take responsibility for your own life. That is the accountability part in any business, in any individual life. If you get those four down, then you got it. You got it made.
There you go. There you go. Said best by the coach, Coach LA. Thank you very much, and make sure you be
Thank
accountable
you.
in your life. All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Gresham. All
You're
right.
welcome.
Bye
Bye.
bye.